So that is the plan for the Office of River Protection as far as the jobs go. For the work scope, we split our work into 5 major sections. You can see here RA1 through RA5. This deals with tank infrastructure. The other infrastructure projects are more R&D style projects. Facility upgrades, waste feed delivery infrastructure, and as well as the waste feed transfer lines, which is the only capital asset project we have, but that is deal with the remediation or the replacement of the SY transfer lines between the individual tanks and pits. Talking about infrastructure improvements, some of the key attributes that need to be upgraded are the ventilation systems as we get ready to blend these tanks and mix them to get ready to send them across site, or even from one site, from one double shell tank to another, staging for waste treatment, delivery to the waste treatment in 2019. Electrical systems, with the increased demand, we're going back and looking at where do we need additional electrical supply. The valve pits, AW valve pit is crucial to the success of the WTP. All the waste that goes to WTP goes through AP valve pit. We are replacing 48 valves in that pit, as well as a number of jumpers. So that gives us the ability to easily operate that pit in a safe environment. It also reduces the ability. Right now we verify by camera and by computer modeling where that valve is because the indicator plates aren't accurate. This allows us to accurately place those indicator plates, removing that requirement and reducing the burden of cost and man hours to do those valve alignments. In the area of facility life cycle extension, 2 major facilities, 242A, crucial to the mission, and that is basically the reduction or the removal of water from the waste in the double shell tanks to create a thicker waste, allowing more volume to be placed into those double shell tanks. That's a critical facility for us. One of the key elements that has caused us delays last year is as you see the upper picture, is the raw water service building. That caused us about 4 weeks of delays last year in the operations due to mechanical failures. That facility has been completely redone, all new parts from front end to back, and that is now online. We're also looking at providing spare parts and updating the ventilation system, as well as we did facility decontamination, which allowed the workers to, instead of entering in whites, be able to enter in normal street clothes, which is a giant cost savings. For the 222S laboratory, this laboratory is needed in support of analytical requirements for the waste treatment plant. Mission life is basically the end of the project. We've gone through and upgraded numerous instruments which are 15 to 20 years old, taking weeks and months to do the analysis to days and hours and days with this new equipment. So significantly improved our productivity there. Facility improvements and expansions, we're taking old dilapidated mobile offices, replacing them with new modern facilities, as well as conditioned storage, and we're upgrading the lighting with more energy efficient lighting throughout the facility. Feeding the waste treatment plant, there's a number of studies that are, this category is mostly focused on, focused on studies and dealing with determination of how we're going to mix, what the requirements are for those mixer pumps, the feed, how we're going to feed, what the requirements are for that. So there's a lot of studies that go on here. There's a tank waste mixing study. We've got some cast stone studies that are going on, and this is really focused on what is it that's going to be needed in the near term to make those critical decisions that gets us to that 2019 date to provide a consistent and reliable feed to that waste treatment plant. So that's the focus of this area. When we talk about supporting local businesses, it's been a goal of the office as well as the contractors to support the local businesses. To date, we've released about $72 million worth of contracts to local businesses. Great metric that I applaud the WRPS for doing, and we continue to support that. From a personnel issue, we've hired about 70 out of the total, about 73% of those come from Washington State. Out of the number of Washington State, about 86% of those are local hires. So great statistics for hiring our local workforce. I will leave the presentation with the for contracting opportunities. You can contact Melissa for that information, as well as there are the website for that information. So lots of opportunities left to be had for Recovery Act, numerous RFPs coming up, so feel free to join us in the fun. With that, I turn it back to Bill.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tom. You know, as a bit of a side note, if you as a small business are interested in contracting with the government, the Chamber has a fairly recent program, PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, which gets you set up to be a government contractor and in the database. So contact Ashley at the Chamber if you're interested in attending one of those classes. Our next speaker is Jane Hedges. Jane is the Program Manager of the Nuclear Waste Program in the Washington State Department of Ecology. She has worked in the Nuclear Waste Program since 1999 and was appointed Project Manager in January of 2006. She manages a program with 70 staff which oversees the cleanup of the Hanford Nuclear Facility in eastern Washington and regulates other facilities which store, handle, or dispose mixed hazardous and radioactive waste. Prior to assuming the project manager position, Jane was the manager overseeing the storage of high-level nuclear waste and environmental restoration projects. Before joining Ecology, Jane was a partner in an environmental consulting firm and has many years of experience working for a number of local governments on environmental issues ranging from water quality to solid waste management. She has a BS in bacteriology and public health from Washington State University. Welcome, Jane. Oh, and once again, go Cougs.
Thank you. Yeah. That's right. Thanks, Bill, and thank you very much. I want to echo my thanks to the Chamber for having us here today to talk about the stimulus funding, and a special thanks to Pam Larson and the local governments and local elected officials of the Hanford communities who continually work to provide opportunities to educate not just locally but statewide and nationally on Hanford cleanup. It's a really important mission that they do. The state appreciates the commitment to Hanford cleanup that was made by Congress, the administration, and the Department of Energy by bringing all this funding to the Hanford cleanup. We think DOE and their contractors have done a very good, very effective job of putting the funding to work to enhance cleanup, to focus on issues that are critical to the state of Washington, and to provide jobs for our community. DOE worked with the state and with EPA from the idea inception of the stimulus funding on which projects would be eligible, how to prioritize the funding. We've had excellent communication and collaboration through the extent of the cleanup, both on the general cleanup and on the stimulus-funded cleanup. So Ecology's job as part of this partnership was to ensure that the state requirements were met and that the quality of cleanup was retained even with this highly accelerated schedule and the increased workload volumes. We had commitments from the highest levels of our agency, Ecology, as well as the governor's office, to help make sure that the funding could be put to work quickly and that our regulatory decisions wouldn't impede getting folks jobs and getting the work going at Hanford. The additional funding has helped meet some very critical milestones for the state that both Matt and Tom have spoken about in their presentation. In particular, the accelerated work on cleaning up the groundwater to protect the Columbia River. You saw in Matt's presentation the treatment systems, the big pump and treat systems that are going on along the river and also in the Central Plateau. Those are a key to remediating the contamination that exists so that we can protect the river. Another project, again, that Matt had shown you was the removal of transuranic waste, which are the long-lived radioactive contaminated waste from the center of Hanford, and getting those ready for and shipped to New Mexico for disposal. That was a key priority for the state, and in the original budget, we understood that that project was probably going to be substantially slowed or else absolutely stopped, and so it was very important to us when this money came through, and DOE did agree to prioritize that work and have done a great job keeping that work going and in fact accelerating on it. Tom spoke of the infrastructure work that's being done in the tank farms. We think that that is critical. That system is decades old. We have a number of future retrievals that will depend on that infrastructure work and on feeding the waste treatment plant so that we can get that waste treated and in a safe configuration.